Hi everyone, it's Chris with the student case study number one. I'm just going to dive right in. Otherwise, this video may go a bit longer than anticipated. So the student profile, Jane, we're going to call her Jane. She's an 8-year-old student, grade 2 at the Singapore Korean International School. She is ethnically Korean, and I believe her dad is German. Not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure he's German. I know they came from Germany to Singapore. And I know she speaks a little German. I think her dad might be German, not sure. Her mom is pretty involved in the school and takes quite a bit of interest in her children's education, both her and her brother. And speaking of her brother, she has an older brother who in the past has been kind of labeled as a problem student by other teachers. I never taught this student, but I've been told he used to disrespect his teachers and peers, sometimes write about inappropriate things. I think he was caught with just inappropriate behavior as well, just like, with other students, touching and things of that nature. However, it's my understanding as well that he has come quite a long way since those early days and is performing quite well in school now. The father, Jane's father, I don't know much about him. I think he's German, but I don't really know much else about him besides that assumption. Academic history, Jane, she's bilingual in English and Korean, fluent in both, right? So operating in an English-speaking environment or Korean-speaking environment, she can do that with very little trouble. However, when it comes to like reading and writing, her ability is below grade level, for sure. Reading wise in English, I can see that when I read with her one-on-one, she has ability to get some like sight words, and she does have some phonemic awareness. We can sit down and like slowly go through a sentence and kind of like I can point to the phonemes, is that the right word? And we can kind of like go through them slowly. But it ends up, if we're having any one-on-one time during pair reading, if I can sit with her, it's a very slow process. We only get through maybe a few sentences along the way. Otherwise, she won't do any reading whatsoever unless I come over and sit with her. Her homework, though, is generally completed with a high degree of accuracy. It's usually quite good, which is very contrary to the in-class performance where she basically classwork, unless I'm hovering right over her and helping her with the work, she is not putting in the effort at all. She is extremely artistic, so anything that's like a crafty or artistic project in the classroom, she is usually on board with doing that. And I think she's really good at creative problem solving, thinking outside the box. She's always wanting to kind of like take the craft and those types of activities kind of to a next level that other students don't really think too much about. She's always trying to like use different things and have different ideas, and just like little problem solving things like if a zipper breaks on a zip file that we use, she'll come up with ideas like using a paper clip, or like one day she wanted a stapler and I didn't have one, so she just made like a makeshift staple out of a paper clip. So I think she's pretty creative in terms of art and just problem solving in general. Behavioral history. She can go through some pretty wild mood swings over the course of a day. Not always. Most days it's pretty tame, pretty normal. Nothing too out of the ordinary. But other days she can just feel really persecuted and just, you can read on the slide here, she views criticism often or disagreement as a personal attack. If someone says, oh, I don't like what like I've had her friends, for example, she has a core group of friends, and like I know they've said things like, oh, they'll be doing a group craft activity together, and then they're each doing their individual thing, and they'll say something, oh, I don't like what you've done there, and she'll just like break down and crying. So she does take those things quite personally. On a few occasions, she said to me, and again, not often, but this has definitely happened 2 or 3 times, I'd say, over the course of the year, where she would just say, like, "Teacher, I'm not smart, or I can't do this, So she tends to she gives up very easily. There's a definite lack of self-confidence, especially when it comes to academic performance. And I think a lot of that is related to, the fact that she knows she can't read. She knows she's behind the other students. I mean, even if I don't say anything to that extent, kids can still feel that. They can feel that the other students are able to read and able to write. And, even the ones who've just arrived from Korea, are able to read and even write short sentences without, me being right there by their side at all times. So I think she feels that, and I think that does maybe create, she feels that pressure, I think. And then other things on here, like if you go to the bottom, verbal altercations with many students in class. She does tend to find herself at the blunt end of criticism sometimes from kids in the class. And a lot of times this happens in Korean, so I don't even know what's happening sometimes until, maybe she breaks down, she's crying, and then I'm, spend 15 minutes trying to figure out what just happened. So that can be difficult, especially if the other student doesn't speak a lot of English. Getting to the bottom of those things can be a challenge, to say the least. Steps taken up to this point. So I know in grade 1 she was in the ESL program. I think that was a lot to do with her reading ability, because as I said, she's fluent in English. She doesn't need ESL. She needs phonics, reading for sure. In grade 1, her mom was contacted several times regarding academic performance, and she always comes in. I've met her as well in a few parent-teacher meetings. She is always very supportive. She does seem genuinely concerned about Jane's performance. She's told me that she has a reading tutor, and that she's trying to get her help to get her up to speed or to grade level, and there just hasn't been a lot of progress. Like she'll tell me things that like we've really tried, but she just doesn't like doing these things. And I don't know if that means like, okay, she says I don't like it, therefore her mom doesn't make her do anything. I'm not sure how that argument goes outside of the school. But I could see, just based on what I've seen from Jane in class, she can be quite stubborn when she decides that she doesn't want to work. If she's decided she doesn't want to work, she's probably not going to work. What else we got? Oh, so another thing. So yeah, in my first parent-teacher meeting with Jane's mom, she stated that she really didn't want to put a lot of academic pressure on Jane. And, up to this point, I didn't really know much about her ability. It was quite earlier in the year. I knew she was behind in the reading, but I didn't know really, I guess, to what extent all these things were happening. So, I don't know, that lack of academic pressure, I'm not sure. I mean, I think some pressure is good, but, I guess with this particular student, maybe it's the case where the mom has recognized any pressure she puts on her results in some sort of like emotional breakdown. I don't really know the full story there. I just know that's what she told me. Learning disabilities and professional counseling, as far as I know, she hasn't been tested for either any learning disabilities, or has she had any professional counseling. I suspect that she may have a learning disability, but I'm not an expert. I can only kind of go off what I've seen in the classroom, and I think it's a possibility for sure. So concerns, just to wrap up. For me, I'm concerned about the low self-esteem and academic confidence. I don't have any expectations of her to be, the top student by any means. I would like to see some progress in the reading, at the very least. And I think, I don't know, I feel like if we had more one-on-one time, maybe she would get a boost of that. So, maybe for me, that's just kind of maybe focusing more on getting some time with her during break times or maybe just more time in the classroom. Possibility of emotional abuse or mental health issues or cognitive impairment. I feel like I'm making a pretty big leap with those two at the end there. Because again, I don't really have any firm evidence of any of those things. So I definitely don't want to assume that there's emotional abuse happening elsewhere. But I mean, I think it's something that's worth, like, if possible, looking into. But again, I'm not really sure how one would do that without offending some parents. And then, like, the mental health, cognitive impairment, or learning disabilities. I mean, again, suggesting that a parent test their child in Asia it can be a pretty sensitive topic. So it's not something I have done. I think I've maybe alluded to, have you considered there's other possibilities of why she's not able to learn phonics, for example. But, I've never mentioned learning disability or impairment. So yeah, that's about it. I guess I'll hear what you have to say on Monday. So everyone, have a great day, and I will see you on Monday.